The void over Kharon Prime burned red. Thousands of alien warships drifted in flawless formation, engines glowing like suns. Their discipline was perfect, their power undeniable. To the galaxy, the Armada represented inevitability. To humanity, it was extinction waiting for a final breath. Commander Marcus Hale stood inside the command cradle of the Resolute, humanity's last surviving fleet flagship. The tactical screen painted a hopeless picture, red enemy markers blotting out entire sectors, while his meager blue icons, barely a dozen frigates and crippled destroyers, floated like sparks before a tidal wave. A voice broke the silence. Lieutenant Seraphis, eyes wide, whispered, "They've deployed every banner ship. They don't fear us at all." Marcus's jaw clenched. They should. On the enemy flagship Triumvir's glory, General Zarthik towered above his subordinates. Forearms folded across his armored chest, mandibles clacking in amusement. The hologram of the human fleet shimmered before him. "So this is their grand strategy," Zarthik sneered. "A handful of rusting relics limping into our jaws. The humans think defiance will save them. Laughable." Another general, cloaked in blackened scales, hissed in agreement. "Their species mistakes stubbornness for strength. They throw soldiers into fire and call it valor. Their tactics are chaos. Their history, failure." The chamber erupted with laughter. Alien generals mocked humanity as if it were already a memory. Zarthik raised a claw for silence. "Let them come. We'll end their illusions in one stroke. Tomorrow, there will be no human fleet left to resist." On the Resolute, Marcus Hale listened to intercepted transmissions of the enemy's scorn. His crew shifted uncomfortably as laughter echoed from alien comms, sharp and cruel. They muttered, "They think we're finished." Marcus's scarred face betrayed no emotion. His voice was flat steel. "Good. Let them." He turned to his crew. "Bring up the black net." The room froze. The black net wasn't a tactic, it was a legend whispered across fleets. No one knew if it was real, or if humanity had ever dared to use it. "Sir," they said carefully, "deploying that system could cripple us as well. We don't even know if—" Marcus cut her off. "We know enough. It's the only card left." In the war room below decks, officers gathered around Marcus as he revealed the plan. Dozens of drones, hidden across the system's debris fields, would awaken in synchrony. Each carried a fragment of a quantum entanglement algorithm, a virus crafted not to hack systems, but to warp navigation itself. "We won't fight them ship to ship," Marcus said. "We'll make the battlefield itself hostile. Their formations will break, their sensors will lie, their engines will betray them. And when panic sets in, we strike." One officer frowned. "It's madness. Even if it works, it's untested." Marcus's eyes hardened. "So is extinction." Night fell over Kharon Prime. Alien fleets gleamed like cities in orbit, their lights mocking the human survivors huddled below. Generals toasted victory, confident that by dawn the human fleet would be dust. Marcus Hale stood alone in the Resolute's observation deck, staring at those endless lights. His reflection in the glass was grim, haunted. Memories of his daughter's colony burning under alien fire cut into him like blades. He whispered, almost to himself, "One night more, Sarah. One night, and they'll understand what it means to laugh at us." The attack came at dawn. The alien fleet surged forward, engines burning in perfect symmetry. At the heart of the storm, the Resolute drifted like prey awaiting slaughter. "Enemy range in 2 minutes," they reported, voice tight. Marcus gave a single nod. "Activate the black net." Across the system, the dormant drones awoke. Invisible signals laced the void, weaving a lattice of impossible geometry. Alien ships suddenly found their navigation distorted, engines fighting against phantom vectors. Sensors screamed contradictions. Entire squadrons veered off course, colliding with one another. "What is happening?" Zarthik roared aboard the Triumvir's glory. His generals shouted conflicting reports. "Engines locked in spiral! Shields offline! Weapons refusing coordinates! Through the chaos, one officer gasped. It's human strategy! They've turned the battlefield into a trap! Zarthik's mandibles clicked furiously. Impossible! They don't have the intelligence, the discipline. Yet before his eyes, his flawless fleet dissolved into pandemonium. On the Resolute, cheers erupted as red icons shattered across the tactical map. Alien warships spiraled into each other, colliding in catastrophic bursts. Others accelerated uncontrollably into the planet's atmosphere, burning like meteors. The proud formation that had blotted out the stars now tore itself apart in silence. They looked to Marcus, awe in her eyes. It's working! My God, it's actually working! Marcus's voice was low, almost bitter. No gods here, Lieutenant. Just humans who refused to die. But it wasn't over. Zarthik forced what remained of his command into a countercharge, driving surviving ships directly at the Resolute. They think their trick wins wars, he snarled. Show them the power of a true empire. Alien battleships unleashed a storm of plasma. The Resolute shuddered, shields cracking. Human frigates interposed themselves, dying to hold the line. Marcus clenched the railing. This is it. Hold formation. Break them here, or we break forever. The climax came swift. As the alien flagship charged, Marcus gave the final order. Redirect the net. Collapse it inward. The drones obeyed. Reality itself twisted in the path of Zarthik's fleet. Engines misfired, drives imploded, navigation spirals collapsed into singular chaos. The alien flagship was dragged into a gravitational fold it couldn't escape. On the alien bridge, Zarthik's last words were a disbelieving whisper. Human strategy, impossible! Then the Triumvir's glory vanished, swallowed whole by its own collapsing drives. Silence reigned. On the Resolute, every officer stared at the tactical display. Where once thousands of enemy ships had loomed, now there was only wreckage. A fleet erased overnight. Vey's voice shook. They laughed at us. And now... Marcus finished for her, voice quiet but edged with fire. Now they remember why humanity survives. He turned from the viewport, exhaustion etched into his features. Yet in his eyes burned the same defiance that had carried humanity through every slaughter. Signal the colonies, he ordered. Tell them the impossible just became strategy. And tell the galaxy, humanity doesn't break. Cliffhanger ending. As the wreckage of an entire alien armada drifted across the void, Marcus knew victory carried its own price. The black net wasn't a weapon they could use twice, and now every surviving empire would want to know how humanity had erased a fleet overnight. The war was far from over. But tonight, the galaxy learned fear again. The wreckage of the alien fleet drifted like a graveyard across Kharon Prime. Shattered hulls tumbled silently, engines still glowing before fading into darkness. What had begun as arrogant laughter from the alien generals had ended in silence. Humanity had pulled off the impossible. But Commander Marcus Hale did not allow himself to celebrate. He stood on the Resolute's bridge, eyes locked on the tactical readouts. The black net had bought them victory, but the system indicators told a darker story. Half the drones had burned out, their quantum cores cracked beyond repair. Worse, sensor feedback revealed that the algorithm's collapse had destabilized local space. Gravity wells flickered like unstable wounds across the sector. Lieutenant Seraphis approached, voice low. Sir, we've received a transmission from New Avalon Command. They demand an explanation. They want to know how we did it. Marcus's jaw tightened. Of course they do. And so will every surviving empire in this quadrant. The net wasn't meant to be used. Not like this. Vey hesitated. If the truth spreads, sir, we'll be hunted not just by aliens. Our own leadership won't forgive us for using a weapon they buried. Marcus's voice was calm but edged with steel. They wanted us dead. I chose survival. Let them choke on it. Hours later, the survivors gathered in the war room. Officers looked gaunt, exhausted, but their eyes burned with a mixture of disbelief and raw pride. Captain Joran, grizzled and blunt, spoke first. We wiped out their fleet, Marcus. Entire empires couldn't do what we just did. That should mean something. Marcus fixed him with a hard look. It means we've painted a target on every human world. Coryx wasn't the only general. Others will come. And they won't underestimate us again. A younger officer, Ensign Hale, leaned forward. Then we use the net again. If it broke them once. Marcus cut him off sharply. No. The drones are gone, the lattice fractured. The system can't be replicated without resources we don't have. And even if we did, each activation tears at space itself. You want to doom entire star systems just to win battles? Silence followed. The officers glanced at one another uneasily. Victory had tasted sweet, but its cost lingered like ash. Later, in the dim quiet of his quarters, Marcus replayed intercepted transmissions of the alien command council. Surviving generals argued violently, their voices thick with fury and disbelief. They use forbidden physics, one hissed. Then we use fire, another replied. Exterminate every colony until they have no one left to defend. A third voice, calm and venomous, whispered. Do not simply kill them. Break their symbol. Destroy Hale. Marcus exhaled slowly. He knew it already. The war was no longer about territory or resources. It was personal. The enemy wanted him erased because his defiance had turned into legend. The next day, a transmission arrived on a private channel. The signal was human, but encrypted with codes Marcus hadn't seen since before Titan's Gate. They frowned as she worked the console. This code's classified far above our clearance. Someone buried it deep. The message resolved into a hologram of Admiral Kharon Prime, a figure Marcus had once called mentor before Betrayal fractured the fleet. Raine's face was older now, lined by politics rather than combat. Hale, Raine said coldly. Congratulations. You've ensured humanity's survival, for now. But you've also jeopardized our species by exposing the net. That weapon was sealed because its side effects threaten more than enemies. If the alien coalitions realize what you unleashed, they'll unite. And we cannot fight them all. Marcus stepped closer, eyes narrowing. So what's your solution? Hide? Beg for mercy? Raine's tone sharpened. My solution is control. You'll return to Avalon immediately. Hand over every fragment of the net. You've played your part, now let leadership decide how humanity fights this war. The hologram blinked out. They broke the silence. Sir, he's ordering you to surrender the only advantage we have. Marcus's face hardened. He doesn't want to protect humanity. He wants to control it. Raine always believed strategy was about power, not survival. Joran slammed a fist on the table. So what now? If we refuse Avalon, we'll be traitors. If we obey, we'll hand them the very tool that saved us. Marcus thought of the wreckage still drifting outside, of the men and women who died to make the impossible happen. He made his choice. We don't hand anything over. Not yet. We use what's left to finish this war on our terms. That night, they confronted him privately. Marcus, this isn't just about survival anymore. You want vengeance. Her words cut deeper than enemy fire. Marcus looked away, haunted by the memory of his daughter's last transmission, her voice fading as alien bombardment erased her colony. You're right, he admitted quietly. I want them to suffer. But more than that, I want humanity to live in a galaxy where no one ever dares laugh at us again. Vei's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. Just remember, sir, if we become monsters to win, then we've already lost. 2 days later, scouts brought news. Another alien fleet was mustering near the Seraphis Rift, smaller, but commanded by one of Coryx's surviving lieutenants. It was bait, meant to draw humanity into open conflict before the net could be rebuilt. Marcus studied the star map. The rift was unstable, gravity tides unpredictable. A perfect killing ground, but only if used wisely. He addressed his officers. The enemy believes we're desperate enough to meet them head-on. We'll show them we don't repeat tactics. They laughed at strategy once. They won't laugh again. They asked cautiously. What's the plan? Marcus's expression was grim but certain. We don't fight their fleet. We make their fleet vanish without firing a shot. Cliffhanger ending. As the Resolute set course for Seraphis Rift, the crew realized Marcus had no intention of replaying the Black Net. He had something new in mind, something even more unpredictable. And though none dared speak it aloud, every soul aboard knew the truth. If he failed, humanity's final spark would be extinguished in the rift's depths. The Resolute emerged from FTL on the edge of the Seraphis Rift. The void here was different, broken. Churning tides of unstable gravity bent the starlight, warping space into twisted arcs of color. To most, the rift was a graveyard. To Marcus Hale, it was opportunity. On the bridge, officers watched with unease. Lieutenant Vey whispered, "If this place doesn't kill us, the fleet waiting inside will." Marcus stood steady, eyes fixed on the shifting horizon. "Then we make the rift fight for us." Scouts had reported the alien fleet massing within the rift, 60 warships, commanded by General Virith, one of Corix's most ruthless lieutenants. Unlike the arrogant generals who had mocked humanity before, Virith was cautious. He knew the cost of underestimation. Inside his flagship, Virith addressed his captains. "The humans will come here seeking another miracle. Deny them. Their tricks mean nothing in the rift. Physics itself devours them." Yet even Virith underestimated how far Marcus Hale was willing to push the edge of survival. On the Resolute's war table, Marcus outlined the plan. A dozen drones remained, damaged remnants of the Black Net lattice. They couldn't distort navigation as before, but their quantum cores could still emit pulses strong enough to destabilize the rift's anomalies. He traced vectors across the map. "We seed the rift with pulses. Not to control it, impossible, but to push instability where we need it. Gravity wells will flare, rifts will collapse, ships will vanish. And in that chaos, we strike at Virith's command." Captain Joran scowled. "And if the pulses swallow us instead?" Marcus didn't flinch. "Then humanity dies fighting, not waiting." The trap was set. Drones deployed in silence, drifting into position like forgotten debris. The alien fleet advanced, weapons charged, wary but confident. On the bridge of his flagship, Virith sneered. "The humans stand with a single crippled fleet. End this." Alien warships surged forward. Plasma storms filled the void. Marcus's voice was calm. "Detonate the first pulse." The rift answered. A gravity well bloomed where empty space had been, swallowing 3 alien frigates in an instant. Their hulls cracked like eggshells as they spiraled into nothingness. Virith's eyes widened. "They're weaponizing the rift." The battle ignited. Alien warships fired relentlessly, beams tearing through the Resolute's shields. Human frigates dove between anomalies, using the chaos to mask their approach. Explosions painted the void. They called out, "Enemy destroyers flanking starboard." Marcus pointed at the map. "Trigger pulse 2." The drones obeyed. Space bent violently, hurling the destroyers into each other. Fire blossomed in silence. But the rift was no ally, it was hunger made manifest. A human cruiser strayed too close to a collapse point and was torn apart, crew erased in an instant. Joran cursed. "We're killing ourselves, Marcus." Marcus's reply was grim. "So are they." On Virith's flagship, panic rippled among officers as formations disintegrated. But the general remained cold. "Push through. Find the source of their pulses. Kill Hale, and the humans scatter." He ordered his flagship forward, carving a path with ruthless precision. Back on the Resolute, alarms blared. "Virith's flagship is breaking through!" Vey shouted. Marcus studied the tactical feed. The alien dreadnought was immense, dwarfing anything humanity still possessed. "All batteries, focus fire." The Resolute's guns roared, lances of energy hammering the alien giant. The dreadnought shrugged off the blows, shields blazing. Its return fire ripped through a human frigate, scattering molten wreckage across the rift. Marcus clenched the railing. "Pulse 3. Now." The drones fired. Space tore open between the dreadnought and its escorts. Half the alien squadron vanished into the collapse. But Virutha's flagship endured, engines burning brighter. The two flagships closed distance, locked in a duel that would decide the battle. Plasma beams carved across the Resolute's hull, tearing through decks. Fires raged. Crew died at their stations, refusing to leave. They shouted over the chaos. "Shields down to 20%! We can't take another volley!" Marcus's voice was iron. "We don't need to. We just need to drag him deeper." The rift howled around them, anomalies blooming like storms. Marcus guided the Resolute on a collision course with the dreadnought, weaving between collapsing pockets of gravity. Virutha's officers cried out, "He's mad! He'll kill them both!" The alien general snarled, "Stay on him. Humanity dies here." The two ships clashed, exchanging fire so close the void itself lit up like dawn. At the war table, Marcus saw it, the chance. Trigger every remaining pulse. Collapse the rift. They froze. "Sir, that will kill us!" Marcus looked at her, eyes dark with resolve. "Then make sure it kills him too." The pulses detonated. The rift convulsed, collapsing inward. Gravity storms screamed across the battlefield, dragging ships into black holes of their own making. Alien warships imploded, human frigates were torn apart, debris spinning like shattered glass. The Resolute and Virutha's dreadnought were caught in the heart of it. Hulls buckled, alarms screamed. Crew clung to their stations as reality fractured around them. Marcus shouted, "All power to engines! Ride the wave!" The Resolute surged forward, barely skimming the edge of collapse. Behind them, Virutha's flagship wasn't so fortunate. The anomaly gripped it like a fist, tearing decks apart, dragging the behemoth into oblivion. On his dying bridge, Virutha's final roar echoed. "Humans cursed chaos!" before the rift consumed him whole. The Resolute broke free, limping, burning, but alive. The rift behind them sealed shut with a thunderclap of collapsing stars. Where 60 alien warships had once stood, only silence remained. On the bridge, survivors stared in stunned disbelief. Joran whispered, "They're gone. All of them." They turned to Marcus, her voice raw. "We barely made it out. Half our fleet is gone. Was this worth it?" Marcus's expression was carved from stone. "Ask the galaxy when it realizes another fleet vanished overnight. The aliens wanted to laugh at strategy. Now they'll learn fear instead." But victory brought no peace. A transmission crackled through, human, not alien. Admiral Rain's voice, sharp and commanding. "Marcus Hale, stand down. You've defied Avalon's orders twice. You've unleashed instability that threatens entire sectors. For the sake of humanity's survival, you are hereby relieved of command. The Resolute is to return to Avalon immediately." Gasps filled the bridge. Betrayal once again from within. They looked at Marcus, dread in her eyes. "They don't see you as a hero. They see you as a threat." Marcus's gaze hardened. He stared into the void, at the graveyard he had created. "Then they've learned nothing. And I won't give them the chance to bury us again." The Resolute drifted through battered space, hull scorched, systems flickering. What remained of humanity's fleet limped in its wake, fractured, bloodied, but alive. Behind them, the Seraphis Rift glowed faintly, a scar of their impossible victory. On the bridge, silence pressed heavy. Officers avoided Marcus Hale's eyes. They had heard the order. Relieved of command. Return to Avalon. Admiral Rain's voice still echoed in Marcus's skull. Not praise for saving humanity. Not acknowledgement for erasing two fleets. Only fear. Fear of him. Lieutenant Vey broke the silence. "If we go back, they'll strip you of command. Maybe worse." Marcus's gaze stayed fixed on the starfield. "They won't just strip me. They'll bury me. The Council can't control a symbol. So they'll destroy it." Captain Joran growled. "Then we don't go back." The crew shifted uneasily. Treason wasn't a word spoken lightly. But then again, What was loyalty worth to leaders who demanded obedience at the cost of extinction? Hours later, the War Council assembled in the strategy chamber. Survivors from every ship crowded in, faces gaunt from loss, eyes sharpened by defiance. Marcus stood at the head of the table. Avalon ordered us to surrender the net. They ordered us not to fight at Kharon. They ordered us to die quietly. Twice we disobeyed. Twice we survived. Now they call us criminals because we refuse to kneel. Joran slammed a fist on the table. Avalon doesn't want victory. They want control. Murmurs rippled through the officers. Some nodded, some hesitated. Ensign Hale finally spoke, his voice shaking but firm. If we break from Avalon, we fracture humanity. We'll be a splinter, fighting aliens and our own people. Marcus leaned forward, his voice low but cutting. Then answer me this: do we fight for Avalon's approval, or for the survival of our species? Because one path ends in chains. The other gives humanity a future. The chamber fell silent. No one dared breathe. Then slowly, one by one, hands slammed against the table in agreement. But not all were convinced. Later, in the quiet of her quarters, they confronted Marcus. "You're about to start a war within humanity itself," she said, eyes searching his face. "Is that what you want?" Marcus exhaled, weariness etched in his scars. "What I want doesn't matter. Avalon made this choice when they betrayed us at Titan's Gate, when they tried to silence us at Kharon. If we hand them the reins now, they'll strangle us with them." Her voice softened. "And if by fighting them, we lose what makes us human?" Marcus looked away, haunted. "Then it's on me. Not on them." The next strike came faster than expected. Avalon loyalists within the fleet made their move. A coded signal from one of the escorts triggered sabotage across the Resolute. Explosions tore through secondary decks. Fires raged. Dozens died before security contained the betrayal. When the smoke cleared, a captured officer spat blood and laughed bitterly. "You think you're humanity's savior, Hale? You're just another warlord. Avalon will never follow you." Marcus stared at him coldly. "Avalon doesn't need to follow me. Humanity does." He gave the order. "Lock him down. Spread the word. No more half measures. We cut Avalon out of this fleet. Now." The decision was sealed when Avalon's reinforcements arrived. A battle group of pristine warships dropped from FTL, weapons charged, blocking their path. On the lead ship, Rain's face filled the calm. His tone was calm, almost pitying. "Marcus, don't do this. You've won battles, yes, but at what cost? You risk civil war. Hand over the net. Hand over your command. Humanity must be united under one will." Marcus stepped forward, his voice sharp as a blade. "You mean your will? You buried the net because you feared what it meant, power in the hands of anyone but you. We've bled while you sat safe in Avalon's towers. You don't want unity. You want obedience." Rain's mask cracked, fury bleeding through. "Then you leave me no choice." The calm cut. Avalon's fleet opened fire. The battle was unlike any before. Humans against humans. Brothers against brothers. The Resolute shuddered under the first volley, shields flaring. Marcus barked orders. "Break formation! Hit their flanks! Don't kill them if you can disable them!" But Avalon's guns were relentless. Ships loyal to Hale were torn apart. Fires consumed the void. They shouted, "They're not holding back, Marcus! They mean to wipe us out!" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then we finish this." He made the choice. The last fragments of the black net still existed, unstable, volatile, lethal. Enough to turn the tide, but at terrible risk. Joran's eyes widened as he realized. "Marcus, if you unleash it here, you could destroy all of us." Marcus stared at the tactical map, at Avalon's fleet pressing closer. "Better that than handing humanity to tyrants." He gave the order. The net pulsed. The void twisted. Avalon's warships staggered, systems glitching, drives flaring out of sync. Their formation fractured. In the chaos, the Resolute dove forward, guns blazing, striking at Rain's flagship. For the first time, fear flickered across Rain's face. His calm shattered. "Hale! You'll tear humanity apart!" Marcus's voice cut through the storm. "Humanity's already apart. I'm the piece you couldn't kill." The Resolute's final volley ripped through the flagship's shields. Rain's ship burst into fire, consumed in silence. When the battle ended, Avalon's fleet lay broken, scattered across the void. Survivors fled into FTL, carrying stories of Hale the traitor, or Hale the liberator. On the bridge of the Resolute, smoke curled from shattered consoles. Crews slumped in exhaustion. They stood beside Marcus, her eyes haunted. "You've won. But at what price?" Marcus looked out at the stars, his face unreadable. "History will decide if I saved humanity or doomed it. But one truth remains." He turned, voice heavy with fire. "Every empire that mocked us, alien or human, made the same mistake. They thought we'd break. And when we didn't, they vanished.